Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados. Yes, I'm back with another episode of Creature of Havoc, which is Steve Jackson's last installment in the main series of fighting fantasy. I'm not sure how the chronology is with his sorcery books relative to this, I think they may have been earlier, but I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever the case is, Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone had got quite a bit of feedback about the difficulty level of their books, and the ones who obviously shouted the loudest, even though they probably were a minority, were the ones who thought the books were too easy. All the ones who thought they were just right, they wouldn't have said anything, and so the majority of players, they probably also think that this book is too hard because it is dastardly difficult. And it is by design, because he was told, make them more difficult, make them more difficult, make them more difficult, make them more challenging, etc. And so he did. A little bit too much, probably. But still, it is a really enjoyable book. It's very different to anything else. And yeah. Just to get the elephant out of the room as well, you may have noticed it has been a long time since last time I made an episode, and you may not have got the memo. I did post it on YouTube. I have actually been ill and not had the energy for something like making a fighting fantasy video, because these videos take several hours to make, several hours of filming usually as well, in addition to editing, etc. And it requires a certain energy level to keep that up all the way through filming. And I'm not going to say too much about it, but if you have had chickenpox and you get offered a vaccine against shingles, my advice is to take it. And also, if you haven't had chickenpox, then of course get the vaccine against chickenpox. That's you done, so you don't need to think about these things. I suppose in my case it could have been much worse. So 6 weeks to recover, not too bad from shingles. Anyway. Also, I'm too young to get shingles. I'm not supposed to get shingles until after I'm 50, but there you go. These things happen. Right. Interesting story, by the way. Shingles, the disease. It doesn't sound very very terrible, really. I mean, the name doesn't sound very bad. It sounds like something you put on your like sort of gravel or something that you put in your car park in front of your house. But in Norwegian, the word for shingles is actually hellfire. Yes, that's right. The disease is known as hellfire in Norwegian. And although mine wasn't as bad as that, and I wouldn't have called it that if I were the one to have named it, I can sort of still see where that came from. Never mind about that. No more talk about illness and stuff like that. Let's talk about this book instead. So this is a continuation of earlier episodes. I started playing, and this is of course a very long book, and also one of at least 2 parts. I presume now most people would have seen it, but I'll just do a quick recap. So in this book, instead of being the usual hero who's trying to save the world from the evildoers, in this one you are actually a monster. Yes, you are a monster. You don't know who you are, where you are, what you are, where you're going. You don't understand what people are saying. To start with, you don't understand what things are, and also you don't even have free will, which of course is true of everyone, but at least we believe that we have free will, which is nice. Yes, it's a very useful illusion. And so you have to, at the beginning of the game, you don't know what's going on, basically. But there is a backstory that is in the book, and of course, which I have read in earlier episodes. If you want to watch that, you have to go back to, let's do the first one, and then you know you'll get it. and you get some background information. So it seems that you are, at least according to the information that we have so far, based on the background and what's been happening in the book, you seem to be a kind of a hybrid creature that has been constructed or bred, or a sort of a conformity of two different creatures, possibly a magical practice known as Maranga, which has its aim and purpose to create super creatures that have some kind of utilitarian use, and most likely this utilitarian use would be for war and dominance. And this is something, a practice that is being done by one of the three main evil wizards of the world of Titan, which is the Jaradan Ma. And even though it's a kind of branch of witchcraft in a way, but he's a kind of that's his thing. And it seems, as you start the story, it seems that you do find yourself in his dungeons, and also you stumble across a few adventurer parties who have been in search of the three vapors. Now, the vapors, which I mentioned in the introduction of the book as well, it's a sort of a semi-mythological thing, because you have it's a story of the elves when they have a new sort of elf queen. She gives birth to these magical essences because there's a kind of a union between the elves and the gods that create these vapors. But in her case, instead of the usual one vapor, there were three vapors. And the idea is that these vapors, they can be used only once, and the purpose is so that they can, of course, aid the elves in whatever happens. And of course, there's in this case, there were three vapors, and there was a vapor of tongues, so languages. There's a vapor of reason, so I suppose superior intellect and all that. And also there's a vapor of magic. And this is where Jaradan Ma got really interested when he heard about this story, because he wanted, of course, like all evil wizards before him, to be the greatest, most powerful, and most evil wizard in the world. Yes, no less. And he thought that, well, my skills and my knowledge is great, but what if I had the vapor of magic, and I would possess not just human magic, but divine magic? Yes, the magic of the gods. And then theoretically he would be more powerful, or as powerful as the gods themselves. So that's the idea. So he stole them from the elves and took them to his mines, Yellowstone mines, named such because, of course, they are used to mine gold, which is where he got his wealth, so he could get lots of money, so he could just do his thing and work on his magic and whatever else of depravities he does. I don't know. Right. So you seem to be an experiment in magic that may have gone quite right. Actually, you're a very powerful being, and you also have a taste for hobbits. Yeah, you eat hobbits. Yum yum. And you have to find out what's going on, basically. That seems to be the gist of it. And I did say this is a book in more than one part. In the beginning, when you don't know who you are, where you are, and you don't have free will, and you also don't understand what people are saying, it all is actually literally on the page anyway, gibberish. At some point, if you find the vapor of tongues, you actually gain the ability to understand what people are saying and what's written. It's a kind of a code that is actually quite cleverly made, by the way, that you are given a solution to, and you can actually read then what people are saying. Beyond a certain point in the book, it is a given that you already know the code, and so you don't have to decipher it anymore, because you wouldn't get past that point without having known the code and having found the vapor of tongues. And of course, you also get the Vapor of Reason. That's the first one you get. Before that, you are very sort of clearly shown you don't have free will because you are given the options. It says you can turn left or you can turn right. Roll a die, and the die is then what decides which direction you go. So you don't actually have that control of yourself. But that comes gradually, and also there are some lapses as well, which is quite nice when you can't control yourself because, well, you're hungry or whatever, because you are a kind of monster after all. But this is a kind of one thing I really like about this book is it's a bit sort of philosophical as well. What is a monster? Why do we call something a monster? What differentiates a monster from a non-monster, as it were? And if somebody, say a hero, going into a dungeon, just sort of say, "Oh, there's an orc. The orc is a monster. I'm just going to go over there and kill the orc." What are the moral implications of that? Yes. Anyway, I'm just I've been jabbering on a bit, but I think it's been such a long time. It's been such a long time, and I've really missed playing fighting fantasy game books. I've had lots of other things going on, of course, especially to do with music projects. But this, of course, is one of the core features of my channel, and so of course this is, and also one of the things I really enjoy doing. And especially now that we're getting into the long winter nights, it's nice, and the long dark winter mornings. Yeah. Oh, almost feels like last time I played, didn't I have to close the blinds for the sunlight or something? Okay, too much jabbering, I think. Yeah, also I haven't put my green screen back because since I wasn't making videos for a while, I just removed the green screen. So, but I'll put it back at some point. Do you prefer the green screen and the sort of the blurry background, or do you think this is all right and even better? I don't know. Please let me know. Anyway, right, let's get started. Right, here we are on my desk, and I've got my supplies. I've got my character sheet, which is quite full, actually. And it'll take me a little while, perhaps now, to get into this again and sort of know what's what, because it's been such a long time. I got my maps, got my dice, got my pens and pencil. So, first of all, where do we begin the game? So, in the beginning, you have the dungeons, as it were, a dungeon crawl, where you find your clues and your some items. You also find the vapors, of course. And there are many ways to die. You can see all these red squares here. And let's see, 24, the end. And then we get to the point where we get into the open, and that is 442. So that starts from here. So this is where I think we shall go back and start our game when we get into the outside world, because that is where it feels like the game of two parts, at least, unless there's a third part I don't know about yet. So the beginning is the dungeon, and you're trying to find out, well, how to speak, how to get free will and stuff like that. And then you get to the point where you get outside of the mines, and then you have to try to find your way somewhere. You do have some missions. I'm supposed to go somewhere, I think something called the testing grounds, if I remember correctly, and talk to somebody called Cat O'Hooley, was it? I'm not entirely sure now, but it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. That's one thing I know that I'm supposed to do. I think we'll just get into it, shall we? And then I'll just sort of try to catch up as we go along. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'll be okay. Right. So. Start on 442, perhaps, which is where you get out into the outside world. Are we in focus? I do believe we are in focus. Right, I'm going to skip the first paragraph there because it has to do with how you escape. So that's part of the previous one, really. Space. You have escaped from the dungeon and have emerged into cool night air. Slowly you survey the landscape, your mind filled with wonder at the space all around. You appear to be standing in an open field in which stones have been fixed in regular rows. Some lie down flat on the ground and some are standing up. Of course, a graveyard. To your left, near the edge of this field, is a large building with a tall, pointed roof. On the other side, to the right, is a wood, and a path leads straight into the wood from where you are now. Overhead, a huge white orb hangs in the sky, giving some light. That is the moon, of course. But this light dwindles when great smoky masses drift across in front of it, clouds. You are overawed by your new environment. Would you like to investigate some of the stones set into the ground around you? Would you like to look around at the old building, or would you like to leave this area along the path into the woods? Now, I have tried before to have a look around the graveyard, and it seems that the most likely thing to happen is you get overwhelmed by zombies, or you escape into a mausoleum and end up back inside the dungeon and get stuck. So, early morning, cup of tea. Right. So before let's have a look at my map now. So in the past, I looked at the stones and sort of got to a dead end there. Into the woods. What's going on here? 95. One, two, three, building. Okay. All the woods, which is leading me all that way there. I'm not sure what's going on with this one. 95, 7. Right, I can't really remember exactly what's happening and where I should be trying. There certainly are several options here I haven't tried. I'm not sure what's going on there with the building. Let's just try the building again now, because I can't remember what's going on there now. So, I'm going to have a look at the building. You walk towards the old building, still in awe of your new surroundings. As you approach, you can hear voices inside. They are faint at first, but the closer you get, the clearer their words become. Tonight is... I'm not going to do the voice now because my voice is already a bit fragile this morning. Tonight is the night, sisters of Romina, cackles one of the voices. When will it come? Shrieks another gleefully. Quiet, snaps a third. Its presence, it's close. I can feel it. You step up to the door of the building and shove it aside. Screams come from the three women within, but not screams of terror. These are more like screams of excitement. The three old women are dressed in tattered rags. Each has long white hair and a stubby chin, and rubs her wrinkled hands together in anticipation. They are human-like, but smaller. These three ugly witches are the women of Dree, which, of course, are mentioned in the introduction. Come in, friend, beckons one who is blind. We have been waiting for you. Yes, says another, whose mouth is toothless and black. We are the women of Dree. We are to help you fulfill your destiny. The third one steps forward and speaks with a voice which hisses like a serpent. Yes, miserable creatures. We know what you are and who you are, though you do not. The gods have chosen us to be instrumental in your destiny. We cannot control your actions, for you must make the final choice. But we can shape your destiny through our knowledge. and we will watch your progress, adds the blind. Yes, adds the blind woman. Have you not wondered why one such as you is able to take such steps of wisdom as would befit none less than a scholar? The three hags turn to one another and chuckle like naughty children. Finally, they turn to you. But before we tell you of your destiny, starts the black-mouthed witch, there is something you must do for us. Sleep tonight and awaken fresh on the morrow, then set off on a search for us. Bring us what we need for our potions. Bring us scullyweed root. For this we will tell you what you must know. We will join you on the night of the full moon. With those words, the women once more begin their cackling, which is beginning to annoy you. Well, why wouldn't it? You step forward, but before you can reach them, they have faded to nothing. As silence spreads through the building, leaving only the night sounds outside, you reflect on their words. Will you take up their quest, or will you rather ignore them and make your own way in life? If you wish to undertake their quest, turn to 324. If you want another destiny, turn to 44. Now, I was told if the introduction is true, then the women of Dree are actually trying to help you. So I probably should take their quest because it is most likely going to benefit me. So I'm going to do that and see what happens. Okay, 324. As you settle down to sleep in the rundown old building, you reflect on the words of the witches. You must find for them scullyweed roots from a plant you have never seen before. However, this task does seem to arouse your interest, and you are aware that something of yourself is developing. Your mind goes back to the blind wizard in the room and how you would never have been able to undertake a task such as this if you now felt as you did then. It is almost as if you are developing wisdom. This notion occupies your thoughts, and you drop into a disturbed sleep. When you awake the next morning, light is streaming in through colored glass in the windows, and you heave yourself to your feet. A fresh meaty meal is lying next to you, and you eat it. You may add 8 stamina points, if you are able, for the rest, and the food, and 2 luck points for the encounter. I do believe I am at max at the moment, so yeah. I'm at max. You may now set off. Now, will you head... Oh, this is where I actually did a different map because I wasn't sure what was going on here. So, will you head north, south, east, or west? Something going on here. You get to a town up here. So that is to Dree, I suppose. Maybe I should go east this time. You leave the building and continue past the yard of stones. You join a path which leads east over a stile and through a field of crops being gathered by peasants. Heads bob up over the tops of the plants as one by one the peasants notice your presence. Screams come from a couple of the women, and the men rush towards you, hurling stones. They keep a safe distance, but their missiles are landing close. Will you quicken your pace and make off across the field away from them, or will you react to their attack by turning on them? You may also decide to settle down in the field and eat some crops. Yeah, I'm not that hungry, and also I don't think I'm a vegetarian, to be honest. Right. Options are as follows. So going away from them, I'll just put that up here actually. So 87 away. 421 attack, and down here we have 270 eat. So I'm going to try to get away from them. They chase after you, hurling their stones and abuse until you are well out of their field. Luckily, no stones hit you, and you are soon out of range. You continue along the path, which winds towards a spreading forest until you reach a sign which reads not oak wood. The path leads deep into the forest and you follow it. Go to 244. Is that anything on my map? No. So I'm going to 244. 244. You continue east until you reach a junction where another path joins from the north. There is a signpost at the junction. The sign pointing northwards reads Coven. To the south, the sign reads Bilgewater, though the path... Hang on, haven't I seen these before? I'm sure I've seen these before, but it may be a different paragraph, though. Anyway. Yeah, okay. Oh, I'll figure it out. To the south, the sign reads Bilgewater, though no path runs that way. Bilgewater, that's sort of where I came from, because that was the name of the river that was running through the mountain where the Yellowstone mines were. So, to the east, the sign reads Testing Grounds. Which way do you wish to go? North, south, or east? So we are wanting, I believe, to go 12. Yeah. Maybe we should go towards the testing grounds, because I do have a message I'm supposed to deliver to someone there, and just to see if that is relevant. So in this case, we have south, north, south, or east. Okay. 12. East. So I'm going to go east. You follow the trail until you reach the top of a hill. The trail winds down into a valley. You pick your way cautiously down and reach the bottom safely. But as you pause to rest for a moment, you are startled by a rustling in the bushes behind you. You swing around just in time to avoid the sharp blade of an axe, which misses your face by inches. You growl deep down in your throat and turn to face a tall woodcutter who has attacked. Resolve this combat. Why is it people just keep attacking these big monsters that look stronger than them? I mean, it is actually quite stupid, isn't it? And also, why do you just attack? I mean, you attack them just because they are a monster, don't you? It's a little bit like some of I suppose the message early on in Shrek, isn't it? People just come attacking because it's an ogre, isn't it? You're supposed to do that. So yeah, woodcutter 8, let's put it 8, 9. And if I win, I go to 17. Okay, so my skill is... Do I have some bonus for something? It says 12 there. Not sure what that is for. I can't remember what that's for, but it says I got 12, so... I can't remember what that would have been about. Okay. Right. I seem to have got something that gives me extra fighting skill. Wasn't there a piece of armor or something? Anyway, so 12, 23, and he has 8, 9. And of course, important special rule in this game is that because I'm such a strong creature, and that's one thing that I keep forgetting, by the way. So I just remembered again now. First of all, you only take 1 stamina point damage rather than 2 when you get hit. And secondly, if you roll doubles when you attack, you instantly kill your opponent. So that's quite different to most books. Okay, so he rolls an 8. I've got 4 skill point advantage. I roll a 9. So he's down to 7. He rolls 4. I roll 7. He rolls 4. I roll 6. He rolls 7. I roll 7. And finally, perhaps he rolls 9 and I roll a 7. And he is dead. There we are. Turn to 17. You can see ahead that a river runs through the valley, and you make your way to its banks. As you get closer to the water, you notice that the vegetation is changing. This also looks familiar. Have I not been here before? Is there a map missing? Or is it just... because this is something that happens sometimes in these books. You have parallel paragraphs that describe the same locations, just from a different starting point, where something is a little bit different, and so you have a whole set of paragraphs that might be almost exact, the same wording and the same location, but you have different paragraph references, and it gets a bit confusing if sort of because I have a memory of having seen this before. You can see ahead that the river runs through the valley and you make your way to its banks. As you get closer to the water, you notice that the vegetation is changing. The lush green color of the trees and bushes higher up the valley is replaced by a darker olive color, and the plants down here are decidedly less healthy. Spindly branches reach out at unnatural angles as if pleading for mercy. On the ground, many of the roots of the contorted trees are exposed and have been eaten away. The surrounding bushes are often leafless, and the effect is rather eerie. A faint smell hangs in the air. You continue down towards the river. The closer you get, the stronger the smell becomes, until eventually it is overpowering. So that's just the bilge water smell again. That's disgusting one that I can't stand. The stench seems to come from the river itself, and when you arrive at its banks, you can see why. Indescribable filth and excrement is being carried along by the foul waters. But as the only path runs along the banks, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit sniffly. You will have to choose. Will you follow the river upstream or downstream, or will you leave the path and make your way through the undergrowth? So, again, this looks like a choice I've made before. This looks so incredibly familiar. Oh, yes, there we are. Okay, so I have seen this one before because this is where you get to here. So that's 17 there. And 12, 244. Aha, yes, I have been here before. So this bit here is already on this map. Now, the reason I did this map here is because it was suddenly going north, south, east, and west, and then you don't know how much space you need to actually map it out. In this case, it seems maybe not as much as I originally thought. So this started from accepting the quest, and then you go 324, and then you go 95, 304. Yeah, okay, so this is also, so this is on map number 5. I'll just put that here. Okay. So we get to 244. So we get to 244 there from map number 6. And then I can, let's see, and then we have the woodcutter, 8, 9. Okay, so that means I have done that before. Now I can just cross this out really, like so. And then we are back on this map. And I'll tidy that up later when I've tried all the options, because then I know what kind of space I'll need here to map it out. But definitely there's more space than I've got on this map at the moment. So probably just as well that I've got a second sheet for that. Right, so 3 options: upriver, downriver, or what was the last one? Through the undergrowth. I'm going to try to go through the undergrowth this time, just to see if that makes a difference. You make your way through the undergrowth. Your progress is very slow, as it should be. Your bulky body is impeded by branches and vines, and the going is both difficult and tiring. And you're not certain which way you should go, and all directions look the same. You try various different directions until you find yourself passing a tree which you can remember passing just a short time before. You have been traveling in circles. Your anger builds up and you thunder through the foliage. An unnatural click beneath your foot should have been a warning. But in your rage, it is a warning which you choose to ignore. An instant later, the trap has sprung. Your foot has stepped into a rope noose attached to the supple stem of a sapling. The noose tightens around your ankle, and with a whip-like action, you are hoisted into the air until you dangle helplessly from the treetop. Turn to 175. Right. Okay, so we are going to 175. 175. Your attempts at freeing yourself are all to no avail. Night comes, followed by the morning sunrise. Birds are beginning to circle around you, and you are feeling decidedly weak. But in the distant sky, a tiny shape comes into view. As it comes closer, you realize it is not a bird. It is much too large to be any living creature, and its size eventually frightens off the bird circling above you. When it comes close enough for you to see, you can make out its shape clearly, although it is something with which you are not familiar. A huge vessel with billowing sails above it is heading towards you. You watch as it gets closer and closer, and eventually stops over you. A pole is lowered over the side. It grabs the rope from which you are hanging and hoists you onto the deck. You are too tired and weak to resist as rough hands shove your neck through the nearby guillotine. This foraging expedition has been most successful. The crew of the Galley will have a hearty meal tonight. And that is the end. Right, so that means do not do that. This is the end. Now, I've not been playing that long, so I will go back a step and make a new choice after I have blown my nose. You hear that? Yeah. So I'll be back in a few moments. Right, okay, so let's try again. I'm going to make a different choice there, and in fact, although I do have my doubts, I'm going to try to go upstream. I think that's going to be a dead end as well, because, well, that'll be back where I came from. So, but I want to check, because the thing is, it might be that you want to go upstream a little bit, and then something happens, or you find something, and then you turn back again. So I'll just try that. 427. You follow the river up the valley until you reach a point where it comes out of a cave in the side of the hill. There is no path into the cave, just the river. If you turn round and follow the river downstream instead, turn to 423. Oops, that's the wrong color. 423. Otherwise, you may either jump into the river and follow it into the cave. That sounds like a terrible idea. Or forget about the river and stomp off through the undergrowth. So that is the one that I'm definitely not doing. And then we have into the cave, 345, which probably also is a terrible idea, but let's do it, just to be thorough now. The thing about this book is that it seems to be one of those where you feel that you have to exhaust all options to be sure that you get it right. And sometimes the correct option is actually quite an obscure one. But let's have a little look here. So you stumble down the rocky bank and splash into the river. The dirty water feels greasy to the touch, and the stench is horrendous. You force your way forward against the fast-flowing current, deeper and deeper into the darkness of the cave. Your presence is noted by a host of fish and other animals living in the bilgewater. Can fish and animals live in the water? Most are not capable of harming you, but there is one river creature who thrives in vile waters, known as the Devil's Locks. It is a huge burrowing creature with long stinging tentacles. In rivers, it will bury its body in crevices, allowing its deadly tentacles to waft in the current. The effect is rather like seeing a long-haired, disembodied head lying on the bed of the river, hence the name. You, of course, can see nothing, nor do you know anything of the terrible creature. The last things you remember are soft fibers wrapping themselves around your leg in a sharp pain as the first sting releases its quick-acting poison. So, again, that is a dead end, as I thought it might be this. So, this is quite common in this book that in many books, when you have three options, one is the deadly one, and one is the most correct one, and the other one is all right. In this book, sometimes you find yourself you have three options, and one is correct, the other two are deadly, or they will end your game. So, it's all just a bit of fun, isn't it? Okay, so now I know that the only way forward, which I thought it was, is to go to 423 and follow the river downstream. You pick your way along the riverbank, following it downstream. The going is not easy. At one point you must climb carefully down a rocky cliff, where the river passes over a waterfall. Eventually you'll reach a calm pool where the water's slow and spread over a wide expanse. Steam rises lazily from the pungent water, and you halt in your tracks as the smell, now stronger than ever, reaches you. Through the steamy mist, you can catch a glimpse of a creature further along the bank. It stands tall on four legs and is drinking contentedly from the foul waters. You creep closer, keeping hidden in the bushes. The creature stands on long cloven feet. Its skin is covered and tough scales, and its tail ends in a spiky bowl. Its head is sleek and serpent-like, with a long thin tongue that darts in and out as it drinks from the river. It has not noticed you. Will you creep round the creature so as not to disturb it? Will you attack it in the hope of gaining a much-needed meal, or will you approach it gently, try to keep it calm, and then mount it? Well, I know that it's possible to ride it, and maybe that is the best way forward. But maybe to try a different thing again, because I'm still not sure. The thing is, sometimes when you have something that seems like a shortcut in these books, I'm just never sure if you actually miss something that might be important. I'm going to try to just creep around it and see what happens. 120. You set off quietly through the undergrowth and you give the creature a wide berth. It stops and cranes its scrawny neck around as you rustle through some bushes, but then resumes its drinking when it can see nothing. Further downstream, you rejoin the river and follow it onwards. Turn to 388. So this is then going to be a different thing to what I've done before. 388. The going becomes a little steeper, and the river splashes faster over its rocky bed. Ahead, you can see that it seems to disappear over a ledge, and when you get closer, you see that the river plunges over a tall waterfall and crashes into a natural pond far below. Before continuing along a narrower stream through a gully carved in the rock. The effect is quite spectacular, but it presents a problem to you. How do you get down? Following the path along the riverbank is impossible. You will have to continue through the undergrowth. Okay, so that is also a dead end, because that brings us back there. That leads us to die. So again, this is sort of a strange way to structure it now, because usually Steve Jackson strings us along quite a bit before killing us, so you don't know where you went wrong, but in this one it's quite obvious. I'm guessing that attacking that creature is also going to kill you, and that the only option you have is to ride it. But I'm just going to have a little look at what happens if you attack it as well. Yeah, so if you attack it, you also end up in the same place. Which means that the only way forward is to... Oh, the phone made a little noise there, and that is also a reminder that I should put it on silent. Which means the only way forward is... I'm just going to do it like that. To try to ride it. You creep forward until you are quite close to the creature. As you stand there motionless, patiently waiting for the right moment, a bird flutters down to land on a bush in front of you. You must now decide how you will approach the Ophidiotr that you have encountered. Roll 2 dice. If the number is equals or exceeds your skill, turn to 238. If the number is lower than your skill, turn to 5. So it's lower than my skill. 5. 238 is the same. Yeah, okay, 5. Okay. Thinking quickly, you snatch the bird from the branch. It flutters in your hands, but a sharp squeeze silences it. The Ophidiotr hears a rustling and turns to see what is happening. You step slowly from the undergrowth, holding out the bird towards it as an offering. At first, the creature is startled by your arrival, but your slow approach seems to reassure it. You hold the bird closer, and its tongue darts out to snatch the food from you. You calm it down for a short time, then swing yourself up onto its back. It shrugs and snorts for a moment or two, but its protests are few, and you realize that you now have a steed. After allowing the Ophidiotr to drink from the water, you grasp its neck with your white fingers and dig your heels into its haunches. Without warning, the creature turns and gallops off into the undergrowth. Its strong legs take you faster and faster through the woods. Branches catch your legs and arms, while you are hugging the Ophidiatr's neck tightly for balance and to protect your head. The journey continues for seemingly endless time until you are so sore from riding that you wish the beast would throw you off. But finally you arrive at a clearing where the creature pulls up and stops. With great relief, you step down from its back and survey the area, while your steed gallops back into the woods. So, only one correct choice there. Only one correct choice there. Okay. And 366. You step back into the bushes and search the clearing suspiciously. All is quiet until a shrill cry breaks the silence. This is followed by the sounds of a struggle, and finally 3 figures tumble into the clearing from the undergrowth, locked in combat. 2 rough-set brigands are grappling with another creature. The brigands are burly humans with leather breastplates and boots. The belts around their waists hold throwing knives, but they are using their bare fists in this battle. The adversary is thin and nimble, with long white hair and angular features. He wears a silky robe and appears to be unarmed. He is putting up a brave fight, but is clearly losing the battle as blow after blow from the brigands thuds into his stomach. Ribs and head. Into his stomach, ribs and head. He is crying out for help. Would you help him? If so, turn to 429. If you would rather keep hidden until the brigands have left, turn to 295. Now, last time I did help, and I'm not sure if that's the best thing. This time I'll do it differently. I'm just going to hide. Moments later, the fight has ended. The white-haired creature lies unconscious on the ground, while the brigands rise and dust their hands. They grin contentedly at each other. One of them says, "There, that'll teach that puny sewer snake to send us in the wrong direction." The other nods, and they both leave the clearing along the path to the north. You wait for them to disappear from view. Then you step up to the white-haired figure, who is badly beaten. If you are hungry, he will provide a meager but tender meal for you, and you may add 3 stamina points if you wish. So let's see, so that is plus 3 stamina, which I don't need at the moment. Then continue by turning to 414. So this is where I'm getting a different path. So I suppose if you helped him, if I remember correctly, did he direct you somewhere, and he directed you to that town where you became a slave of someone, which wasn't that nice. That's what happened before anyway. Although I'm sure there are other options that you can take, maybe. A path leads from the clearing to the north, although you can see that it soon forks left and right. Will you go east or west? Right, so we have 2 options, east and west. I'll just put them up there. 1, 3, 9, and 2, 7, 2. I'm still looking for these testing grounds, aren't I? You know what? I'm going to go east. You follow the path through the woods until you reach a clearing. Here there is a small pond. The water is not stagnant, as a small stream leads from it deeper into the woods, and it is a favorite watering hole for the woodland birds, although they flit high up into the branches when you arrive. The water shines with a silver sheen, and you can see quite clearly the reflection of the treetops and clouds. Excuse me. Will you rest here beside the pond and perhaps drink from it? If so, turn to 176. If you would prefer to pass by and continue along the path, turn to 52. Okay. 52. So, let's put those options down here, actually, because there's room there. So we have 176 rest, 52 pass. Now, there are 2 options really, isn't there, when you stop and rest somewhere? First of all, there could be a positive encounter, or there could be a negative encounter. And I don't know, maybe the next one up is positive now. I'm going to try to rest. 176. You simply rest. If you simply rest by the pond, turn to 453. If you drink from it, turn to 391. If you would prefer to bathe in it, hang on, this looks familiar again as well. These options, have I not seen these before? Aha, okay, so... Oh, I have seen those before, because... See, I'm not very good at reading my own map now. 414 is right up there, isn't it? So that means that if you... Yeah, of course. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so that goes up there. And then I'm on page 7. So I actually went east last time as well. And bathe. Bathe seemed like a good idea last time. I'm going to do that again. So you wade slowly into the pond and relax in its cool, refreshing water. When you emerge from the water, you feel much better and may add 2 stamina points. But when you look down at yourself, you are astonished to see that your scales are no longer the usual dark browny green color, but are covered in a glistening layer of milky liquid, which is drying to leave a silvery sheen. Although you try to brush it off, it will not smear, much to your annoyance. But in fact, this silvery layer is a coating of a magical material that will act as a thin armor. When you are covered in the silvery layer, you may add 1 to your skill score, but it will be washed off if you bathe in clear water. Okay. Right. Let's see. Oh, that's not nice. So that we got a sheen. +1 skill until bathe clear water. I'm probably going to forget that, but it's not a huge deal anyway. The thing is, as usual, it's not the thing about these abilities is that they're just a necessary evil in a way to actually in this kind of book anyway, where the big puzzle really is to find the right path. I don't think the abilities matter so much. And I really need to get the nasal spray because my nose is all clogged up today. It's a turn in the weather today, because yesterday it was really warm. It was like 15, 16 degrees. And today it is damp and down to 7 degrees or 8 degrees. And this time of year I get mucusy and sniffly so easily, as you know, of course, from last winter when I was making videos and I was sniffly all the time. And I just had a check and we don't have any nasal spray, so I need to go to the shops and get that. Right. Bathe. Yes. Okay. Turn to 52 to continue. Right, so 52. You leave the glistening pond and continue along the path. It winds through the trees until you eventually reach a fork, where you may continue either to the left or to the right. In the center of the fork, a pole has been fixed into the ground, and hanging from the pole by his wrists is a sight which widens your eyes. Half dead from exposure, but looking plump and tasty, is a hobbit. Mouth-watering, you rush up to the little creature. As he hears your footsteps, his eyes open slowly. No, he moans, guessing that your intentions do not involve greeting him warmly. Please let me down and leave me be. I can tell you where both of these paths lead, and how to avoid the dangers along them. You are hungry, and the sight of this tasty morsel is an unexpected treat. Will you cut him down and make a meal of him, or will you cut him down, listen to what he says about the paths ahead, and release him? Do you have the willpower for that? I don't think so. Now, last time I tried to cut him down and listen to him, and I think I got a little bit of something from him before I actually couldn't resist it and had to eat him anyway. I'll just do that again. A wave of relief passes across the hobbit's face as you reach up to bite through his ties. Oh, thank you, he sobs. I will keep my side of the bargain and tell you what lies down both of these paths. The path to the left will lead you to a dead... Wait, what are you doing? No! The little creature has noticed the mounting frenzy in your eyes as you try to subdue your natural instinct. You have been battling valiantly against an impulse to silence the little creature for good and devour him. But it is helpless. Or hopeless, actually. You cannot fight your natural passion. A single blow sends the hobbit crashing senselessly to the ground, and soon you have picked his carcass clean. Restore your stamina to its initial level, and choose whether to take the fork to the right or the path to the left. So, the path to the left will lead you to a dead ... What could that mean? To a dead end? Maybe not, because last time I turned right, and that led me to the end. I'm going to turn left, definitely. There must be a sort of a... whatever is missing, the dots, probably told me that there's something else going on the left that is actually interesting. So I'm going to turn left and go to 351. Let's see what we have there. The path continues through the undergrowth, but the going becomes more difficult. You soon find it difficult to tell which way the path leads, as the whole area is so overgrown. You peer through the woods ahead, and there seems to be little of interest, although an area to your left seems to be unnaturally dark. This could just be a cluster of broad-leaved trees blocking out the light, or it could be something else. Do you want to try beating your way through the vegetation towards it? I mean, literally beating about the bush. Or will you turn around, follow the path back, and take the other direction? So I'm going to beat about the bush. Or beat the bush about, I suppose. Yeah, beat the bush about. And go to 381. You pick your way through the woods towards a shaded area. The thick vegetation makes it impossible for you to travel in a straight line, and you find yourself turning this way and that to pick out the easiest route. Eventually, you reach the shadowy patch and discover to your disappointment that it is a tight thicket of tall heaven's tip trees. The leaves desperately thirsting for the sunlight from above. You turn back towards the path, but where is it? You have no way of knowing which way you have come from, and your eyes, well, of course you would know where you came from, because you would have broken branches and stuff. And your eyes scan the wood for familiar signs. There are none. Acting on a hunch, you finally set off towards a spot where you hoped you left the path. Turn to 57. Do I have a 57? Just to check if I haven't seen a 57 before. Can't see. No. Okay. So we have 57. You make your way through the undergrowth. Your progress is very slow. Your bulky body is impeded by branches and vines, and the going is both difficult and tiring. And you're not certain which way you should go when all directions look the same. Oh, hang on. I knew that sounded familiar. 57. We have seen 57 before. 57 is on number 5 here. That is here. That's where you get into a... Did we... Okay. Actually, we've seen 57 several times, because that's the one where you go into a trap there. So actually, this one is going to go... It seems to be one of those catch-all paragraphs, and literally in this case. So this one goes to 57, which is on page number 5. So this is from 381. We're coming from 381. So 381 on page 7 goes to 57, which means I go into the trap, and then the galley keep, the airship comes, and they chop my head off and beat me. Which means it is the end again. And so, okay. Which means that the only correct path from here, if indeed anything here is the correct path, is to go the other way. So that is like so. Do not do that. And that, I think, should be the end now. But of course, what I should try next time maybe is to go the other way. Or should I just continue now? Because the thing is, if I have to go through this beginning bit. You know what? I'm just going to go and instead of... I'm going to go turn right again because I'm going to... Yeah. Okay, so I went left and I died. So I'm going to turn right and see if that is a way to keep alive, or if all this is just futile and I should have gone back and saved that scrawny guy with the angular face. Okay. The path winds tortuously through the forest and you follow it up hill and down dale. Although you pass many types of birds and other small animals, there seems to be nothing menacing about the wood, and you're soon feeling quite carefree, until you notice that the wood has been changing very subtly. The general color of the forest is imperceptibly changing from rich browns and greens to duller shades of the same colors. You are entering the forest of spiders. When you first notice this, you think little of it, but now the atmosphere of the wood is changing too. The chirping of songbirds is replaced by the cawing of crows. Previously, there were brightly colored butterflies flitting from flower to flower, but now only black and brown buzzing insects are to be seen. Your steps slow to a more cautious pace. Your eyes dart from tree to tree as if you were expecting something to spring out at any moment. But there is nothing. Then a noise behind you catches your attention and you twist round to a startling sight. Standing directly in the middle of the path behind you is a tall tree. Its gnarled branches are dead and twisted. Its trunk is stout and knotted. But you are certain that it was not there when you passed along that part of the path. Will you go back to investigate the tree, or will you quicken your pace away from it? Now, if you investigate the tree, you die. So I'm going to quicken my pace away from it. You quicken your pace away from the strange, misshapen tree, glancing over your shoulder as you run. But you run straight into something solid. You lose consciousness momentarily and drop to the ground, to be awakened seconds later by a tickling sensation around your head and shoulders. Now this looks like another end. Another tree as dead as the first stands in the center of the path and you ran straight into it. When you discover the source of the tickling, you recoil in horror, as if being blown by some unholy wind. The tree's branches are wafting towards you, gradually drooping lower and lower. The tips are now around your face and neck, and they are trying to get a grip. You cannot understand how the scrawny tree with its long dead branches, it's not dead branches, they just look like dead branches, can have such powers, and you instinctively roll out of its reaches. At that moment, its eyes flick open. The tree spirit's knotted hollow eyes pierce your mind and hold you powerless before it. Under its will, you take a step nearer to it, then another. Your foot kicks a rock and you wince in pain and break free of the creature's gaze. You turn to run from the tree spirit, but only then do you realize the hopeless situation you are in. More of the creatures have closed around you in a circle. Each way you look, your escape route is blocked. Excuse me. Turn to 434, which is the same as the other one, which means that all the paths right are dead ends, all the path left is a dead end, which means that listening to the creature is a dead end, which means possibly that this whole branch of the map now is one long convoluted dead end. Yes, that is Steve Jackson and Creature of Havoc for you. Let's just do the end paragraph there, 434. The tree spirits are tightening the circle, moving in closer and closer. You are hopelessly trapped. They are not evil creatures, but they allow no one to pass through their forest without permission. The penalty is death. And there you have it. It is the end. Again, so as usual, long path that seems to lead only to dead ends and dying and all such things, and you're just not sure where you went wrong, because this is exactly what Steve Jackson also did in House of Hell, which is quite clever, but a little bit frustrating. And it also means that you really need to keep a map and take notes all the time to see if you can find out where you're supposed to go. So it'll be very exciting to try again next time. I'll probably have to backtrack quite a bit now, maybe even all the way. I think I might just go all the way back to where you get into the outside well and start from there and just see if I can finally find out where I'm supposed to go. There you go. Anyway, it's nice to be back to make more videos, and I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry, my voice has been a bit rusty and I've been a bit sniffly today. It's that time of year and it does happen. So yeah, if you've watched my videos before, you would be used to it by now, wouldn't you? But I do apologize anyway, and I should go and get some nasal spray before next time I make a video, which probably will be next week. But thank you very much for watching, and yeah, please like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And goodbye for now.